Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. In this video, we're going to be talking about some thoughts on what the future of air travel would look like. So on Reddit, I had a pretty interesting discussion and got some very valid points. So I would like to share the discussion with you here in today's video. Hope you enjoy.
This could be us. So back to what I was saying. Could be us.
So our first point is that Boeing will scramble to fix the 737 MAX, and there will be an increased demand for them, and the scandal will be largely forgotten about. If you remember, the 737 MAX series of aircraft is the aircraft that was grounded due to 2 fatal crashes in 2019. Bloomberg published an article titled "The Future of Air Travel Will Be as Enjoyable as Open Heart Surgery." As airlines take off again, flying is likely to be more tedious than ever. People already hated TSA and other security measures, so now people will have to deal with possibly testing for what's going on right now. So some of the reasons people think that the 737 MAX will become successful for Boeing is because they are far more fuel efficient than the 757 and 767 that serve US Transcon, which are like New York to Los Angeles, Boston to San Francisco. They also serve flights like northeastern United States to Western Europe, New York JFK to London Heathrow. And this could actually be true because American Airlines is retiring both the Boeing 757 and Boeing 767. And American Airlines do have Boeing 737 MAX aircraft. They're just grounded. And they do have more on order, which means this is very likely to happen. More reasons include they also seat fewer passengers, so the airlines will be able to make a profit on those routes instead of losing money flying a half-empty 767. Also, people think the legacy carriers will struggle and budget carriers will do marginally better. There'll be no massive pensions, no vast fleets, similarly to how Southwest flies just 737s, Allegiant flies just Airbus A320s and A319s, as well as Frontier Airlines and Spirit Airlines. CNBC published an article titled "Air Travel Won't Return to Pre-Crisis Levels Until 2023. On that note, people that can afford to go on vacation will be doing it regionally instead of internationally. Allegiant connects Midwest with tourist destinations in Florida, Las Vegas, and Arizona. Frontier connects the East Coast with the mountain states. Internationally, airlines like Ryanair and EasyJet serve cheaper tourist destinations too. Onto the Gulf carriers, their unlimited cash supply will decrease a little. Airlines like Emirates, Etihad, Qatar are all subsidized by wealthy Gulf state governments. They're kind of like vanity project airlines. Right now, with oil prices falling, those governments are going to cut back what they give to those airlines. The Etihad onboard hot tub might not happen. The A380 will vanish from the aviation landscape unless Airbus releases an A380 freight variant, which could be very popular or very unpopular. And the A380 vanishing is already happening, but now what's going on with Rona, it will only accelerate it. The brand new aircraft such as the Airbus A350 and the Boeing 787 Dreamliner will be the primary long-haul aircraft, possibly meaning the 777X will struggle a little because of its large seating capacity. There just won't be a demand to move 350 people between Newark and Hong Kong 3 times a day. The market will change, which means there will be new opportunities and new markets to serve. Going back to Allegiant, it was revolutionary to connect bland cities in the Midwest, no offense, with Florida and Las Vegas for a cheap price. You could spend a weekend in Florida for around $500 via Allegiant. There'll be something like that emerges. In Florida, I'd say watch out for Silver Airways. If it survives, it will be a household name. Expect the next few months to be like the months after 9/11. An entire industry and all the supporting industries have to create an entirely new way of doing business on the fly. That creates delays, frustrations, and sound clips for the news. That's just how it goes. Currently in the US, Congress wants airlines to leave seats empty on planes to promote social distancing. One passenger on a United Airlines flight said that they were shocked and scared at the sight of a full Boeing 737. A Democrat from Oregon said he would be too if he was about to spend the next 5 hours sealed in a tube with 184 passengers, all seated inches from one another, and any number of whom could be a carrier of what's going on right now. With air travel contracting to 5% of pre-pandemic levels, airlines are now allowed to cut some airports, which wasn't allowed before. The US Department of Transportation heard the pleas of airlines flying empty planes into regional airports, so that's what caused them to allow airlines to cut out some cities and towns. For United, Delta, and American Airlines, that means they could suspend service to 11 airports. There has been a 96% drop in passengers' numbers because of the pandemic restrictions. So with widespread worldwide travel restrictions, it has caused a slash for air travel, with more than 8 in 10 flights being cancelled. Slightly more than half of the flights in the US have been cancelled, leading to a slew of near-empty flights. JetBlue Flight 65 flew from New York to Albuquerque, New Mexico with only 7 passengers on board on April 21st. And on the return flight, there was only 6 passengers, all of them medical professionals. So otherwise, that flight would have been empty. Japan's top airlines are operating the majority of their domestic capacity almost completely empty. It is apparent that their government aren't given direct information and input on the function of the transport infrastructure during this crisis. ANA and Japan Airlines, the nation's 2 biggest airlines, have cut around 90% of international flights, but left their domestic network relatively intact. The 2 normally fly around 800 or more domestic flights daily. They are currently flying around 2/3 of capacity with 10% of their usual demands. There are more concerns on whether air travel will become expensive, or at least more expensive, after this crisis, and that's worldwide. Many tourist destinations amidst this pandemic closed their borders and other means of attracting tourists. One individual said that they watched a seat go from 200 to 70 to 350, and when they booked that flight and flew on it, the flight was near empty. This leads to speculation that if less people are flying, the people that do fly have to pay more to cover the people that aren't flying. If fewer seats are sold, it must mean airfares are going to go higher. Airlines are blocking their middle seats and capping their flight capacity to 50 to 60%. And this is happening worldwide with airlines like Emirates, American Airlines, Japan Airlines, and more. But another strange thing is that you actually still can book flights. So is there really social distancing at all? But to even combat that thought, oil prices are dropping. So possibly that can compensate for the lower passenger numbers. About 25% of any airline's operating expenses is jet fuel. Another good point is that the places that are closed from tourism will eventually open back up and need the income it brings to their GDP, so that could potentially mean that they can give travel deals. So for now, as for every industry, the cost of travel will depend on supply and demand, and there may be a lot of tourism promotions at the end of this crisis. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe. That's all for this video. It's been Marlon the Aviator, and I'm out.